Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here, bringing you another video about vintage baseball cards. And now this video is going to be a little bit different for me because I'm only going to show you about 4 cards, but I'm going to show you a scrapbook that I'm excited for you to see. I want to apologize at first to a lady named Janet Thomas. I called Janet to research about her husband a little bit, and I was going to write down all these dates and numbers and different things. And I got talking to her, and she was so excited and so fun to listen to and stuff. And so I didn't write a lot of stuff down, but I'm just going to tell this story from how I remember her talking and then how I remember the stories from Bud. If I was going to title this, I would title this Ty, Babe, Satch, and Bud. And it goes like this. Bud Thomas played baseball in Sedalia, Missouri. And he played Little League Baseball, and he played American Legion Baseball. And in American Legion, he had a really good year, and he got selected to play in an East-West All-Star game in 1945. So he goes to play in the East-West All-Star game, and his team was coached by Ty Cobb. The other team was coached by Babe Ruth. Now, how exciting would that be? Well, during that game, he got discovered by a scout from the St. Louis Browns, and he got signed, and he signed a contract in 1947 to play baseball for the St. Louis Browns. Now, he got married at an early age, right when he got signed, right after high school. He married his high school sweetheart, and they had 2 kids. Now, it's very difficult to raise 2 kids while you're playing in minor league baseball. He played in a bunch of different towns. He toiled he played winter ball in Puerto Rico just to maybe have that one chance to play in the major leagues. Well, in 1951, he got an opportunity. See, they had a light-hitting shortstop above him, and late in the year, they just rewarded him to call him up in 1951. Now, if you remember or know a lot about baseball, you're going to know that in 1951, the owner of the club, the St. Louis Browns, was Bill Veeck, and Bill Veeck was known for all these publicity stunts. Well, he pulls out one in late in the year in 1951, and everybody was excited about this when it happened. See, he brought a midget and signed him to a one-day contract. The midget's name was Eddie Goodell. Now, Eddie Goodell, he put on a number, was 1/8 on his uniform, and he went up to bat with a wiffle ball bat. And there's a famous picture with him batting and Bob Swift catching, and Eddie Goodell walked on 4 pitches, and everybody had a huge laugh. Everybody there except my friend Bud Thomas, who was recently called up. See, Bud was living, with his family, and baseball was his livelihood, and he was called up in August, and he traveled with the team without signing a contract so they could pull off this publicity stunt. And so he did, for 2 or 3 weeks, he was with them and did not sign and did not get to play. And here they have a publicity stunt before he got on there. And he didn't like that. And, but anyway, he did get to play, and he played, he had 20 at-bats in the major leagues. And he played behind Satchel Paige, and he had all kinds of stories to tell. But he was a little bit bitter about his time in the major league. See, he hit a home run in Shibe Park, and he had a good 20 at bats. He had 20 at bats. He had 7 hits. He had a couple stolen bases, and he had a home run. When he hit his home run, rounded the bases, and he touched home, no one congratulated him. You see today, you see a rookie hit a home run in Major League Baseball, and the pro players just kind of leave him alone and give him the silent treatment, and then go over and rub his head and hug him and that kind of stuff. Well, there was none of that then. See, those older players didn't like those younger players to be called up because they thought that guy was going to take their job. And so he didn't feel like he got treated all that well as a young kid. But he did get treated well by Satchel Paige. See, there was a game that Satchel was pitching that Bud was playing behind him, and a ball was hit deep to short with 2 outs, and there was a runner on third, and Bud made a diving play, stood up, threw the ball to first, and the guy was safe. And a run scored, and it bothered Bud and that kind of stuff. And Satchel Paige was rubbing down the baseball during a timeout right after that, and walked over to him. And Bud thought, "Oh no, I'm going to get yelled at." And Satch looked at him and said, "Son, don't worry about that at all. There's only one man in the whole wide world that could have made that play." And he said, "And I'm pitching today." And Bud would get a kick out of telling that story. And at the end of the year, he thought he was going to get invited to spring training for the Major League spring training, and he didn't. Matter of fact, he didn't get he got traded, and he didn't even know he got traded until his neighbor said, "Hey, I guess you're going to be going to Toronto, huh?" And Bud, "How did you know?" And he goes, "It was in the Sporting News." So the Sporting News knew that Bud was traded before he was traded. So he didn't have a very good liking to Bill Veeck and some of that stuff. And as a matter of fact, he was bitter about baseball, and I think his wife just was bitter about it. And his sons didn't get into playing baseball, and his wife remembered the 7 years of trying to raise 2 boys, living off of nothing and that kind of stuff, and it was really tough on her. And so Bud went home and became a teacher for a year, and then a principal, and then assistant superintendent. And that's when I started to know Bud. He would come to our American Legion games, and I'd see him sitting in the stands, very professional, and just had a class about him. But his wife died, and I'm going to get this date wrong, but I think she died in 98. And, and Bud was single, and then he starts dating a young lady named Janet. Now, Janet had recently lost her husband. Bud had lost his wife, and then they became a couple. And something happened to Bud because of it. See, Janet didn't have to live, toil through the minor leagues, with 2 kids, and she loved baseball. And she was excited, and her family loved baseball. Well, all this being around Bud, it rejuvenated Bud, and Bud became a baseball fan. And then Janet talked him into going to these Brown reunions, St. Louis Brown reunions, and they are called, and the people are called Brownies, and it's still, there's a fan club out there today, and sadly, there's only 3 Brownies alive still today. Now, Bud was excited about baseball, and he would start telling stories, and I'd see him at parties, and that kind of stuff. And he would tell me some stuff, and I'm just so glad he got rejuvenated love of baseball. And Bud passed away in 2015, and left a very lasting memory on a lot of people being involved in the school district. But when I talked to Janet, she was just very proud of Bud and that kind of stuff. And Janet's daughter Stephanie gave me a scrapbook to go through to do this story. So I'm going to turn this camera around and show you some pictures. Get my hand out of the way here. Now here's a scrapbook. Let's start here. So here's a picture of Bud and Ty Cobb that coached him in the summer of 1945 on that Legion All-Star game. And here is a picture of Liberty Park Stadium where Bud played. I've played there. But also Brian McRae's played there. David Segui's played there. Rick Sutcliffe has played there. Albert Pujols has played there. And again, did I tell you I played there? But look at this little thing right here. Here's a note written to Bud from Ty Cobb. It's basically telling him that he's a sure bet to make it to the major leagues. Here's a picture of Babe and Ty choosing home team. And there's Bud up here in the background. Now, how exciting would that be to be in earshot of Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth? Here's Bud signing his major league, or signing his contract with the St. Louis Browns in 1947. What a cool scrapbook, guys. Look at this. Now, Bud played 7 years in professional baseball, mostly with the St. Louis Browns organization. There's a picture of Sportsman Park. Here's a picture of Shibe Park where Bud hit his home run. Here's a team photo of the Browns in 1951. Now, the Browns got sold in 1953 and became the Baltimore Orioles. And the Baltimore Orioles came and played a game in St. Louis, one of the first interleague games. Here's Bud's stats. You can look this up in Baseball Reference. Wouldn't it be neat to have your name in the Baseball Reference? So Janet got Bud excited again and got him to go to, the Brown reunion. And well, when Stan Musial was alive, he would go to the Browns reunion as well. See, they shared the same park and with the St. Louis Cardinals, and they shared the same locker room. And here's one of the photos. And like I say, there's only 3 Browns left alive. So I was telling you, in June of 2003, Bud and the St. Louis Browns got recognized at the Baltimore Orioles game. Now, wouldn't it have been, it's wonderful that Janet got Bud to do all this stuff and to create new memories. And Bud loved this and was very proud. There's a picture of Janet and her daughter Stephanie, my friend, with Stan Musial. Here's a picture of Bud and his family and his new baseball family as well. Now, I told you that Bud got a baseball signed by Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth. I did not tell you that he got the ball signed by Babe Ruth. Janet smiled. I could tell she was smiling when she said it. He was butt naked coming out of the shower, and Bud got his autograph. But that baseball that they got signed, his family donated that to Cooperstown. And it's really neat that this family right here got Bud excited about baseball again. And here's my title: Ty, Babe, Satchel, and Bud Thomas. Now remember, guys, it's just a hobby. Collect what you like.